So Easter happened. Easter was wonderful. Easter was a blast. How many people were here or somewhere for Easter Sunday? Yeah, it was just so high and so exciting and so fun. And now what we get to do is we get to see how the ripples of Easter kind of spread out. It's like a rock being thrown into a pond, and now the ripples getting spread out into our world as we look at what happened after Easter. I think kind of going back a little bit into that whole moment of Easter, though, and recognizing that it didn't start out, as I said last Sunday, did not start out with all of the disciples immediately filled with faith, right? Roger, we were talking about with the high school kids today, that sometimes we get this weird idea of what faith is all about. And if I only had enough faith. But faith in Hebrew is not the things you believe in, but it's the people. Faith for Hebrews is a relationship. It's more like, and I was talking, it's not like saying, I believe you are Della. I think so too, she says. At least last time we checked. But more like saying, and this is what faith is like, I believe in you, Della. Wow. Nice person. Good person. You can trust in her. That's what faith is like. That's what faith means. You see how different it is? So it's not the things that you believe, but it's the ones that you believe in. It's the kind of opening yourself up to that relationship. So we get this word that keeps popping up after Easter. Poor Thomas, What's Thomas's last name? Or his first name, his prefix? Doubting Thomas. And all the way through, this poor guy. And here we have, Jesus appearing on the mountaintop in Galilee. And did it strike any of you as being just a little strange? Because many fell down on their knees and worshiped Jesus. And some doubted. Like, how can you doubt if you see it? But you see, part of it is, once again, we've kind of messed up that word. Greek, in this case, is a very, very pictorial language. I've talked before about meek being a person riding a horse. It's not like, man, I'm so meek, but it's a person riding a horse and in control. It's very descriptive. That's why it's so poetic. And this word doubt, here's the word doubt in Greek. And see if this doesn't make just a little bit more sense to you when you start to look at how it's described, okay? There are two paths in front of me. This path, if I continued all the way, would take me to Moscow. This path, if I continued all the way, would take me to Palouse. Which way should I go? Maybe if I go to Palouse, what's in Palouse? Maybe I should go to Moscow because I know there's a co-op. No, there's Fiddler's Ridge. There's a great... See, that is this word in Greek. I just can't make up my mind. Have you ever met anybody like that? Yeah. Oh, should I have a red car or a green car? I think maybe I'll have a black car because that will solve the whole thing. But it's just this whole thing of having a mind that is kind of split and you just kind of don't... So it's not really doubting in this kind of big, well, I doubt that really happened, but instead it's saying, I may actually see Jesus in front of me, but am I willing to stake my life on this one? Am I willing to really go in that direction? What happens if I head that way? What happens if I head this way? And I think it's beautiful. It's beautiful because how many people here have felt that way? All the time. And so it's beautiful because it embraces us all and recognizes that even when we experience things like we experienced last Sunday, that still in the midst of that, sometimes, it's just not necessarily easy. And part of the reason that it's not necessarily easy is because it is so outside of our realm of expectation that we just can't believe it really happened. Oh, I don't know. Did Jesus, well, maybe death really is going, I don't know. And that I know that we have experienced. Probably the best example of that for me was in 1997. I may have told this story, but it is so perfect to me because it really, to me, encaptures the whole of this feeling of the resurrection and how the disciples felt, how Jesus' followers felt. 1997, we were living on the west side, right? In Bellevue. And for those of you who have not lived on the west side, we come over here and we go, oh, it's so nice to be among people where everybody has a Cougar license plate. And people are looking at us like, well, yeah, so what? See, you just don't get it. You don't understand what it's like to have a Cougar license plate on the west side. And all of the jibes and the sideways little jokes and I mean, I even had somebody came up to me and said, so does that license plate give you handicap accessibility for parking? And I thought, you're doing everything that you can to just kind of, but that's the kind of stuff that you have to put up with. 1997, a friend of ours, an absolutely rabid husky. And I mean that. She really was. She said, hey, Wes and Linda, I have 2 extra tickets to the Apple Cup, which was going to be in Seattle. Do you want to go along with? Okay. She said, I got to warn you. Dana said, it's the husky section. So you got to be ready. And Linda and I, we did not dress in khaki. We did not dress in camo. No, we dressed in full Cougar regalia. It's one of those things where you just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. The funniest thing was that Dana kept saying, well, be ready, because you're going to get all kinds of jibes. And we got to the spot. And, of course, Dana was all in purple, right? And we got to the spot where she sits, and all of her friends were in crimson. And Dana looked at them and said, what? And then she said, well, don't you know? We're all Cougars, but we like football so much we go to the Husky games. Anyway. So Linda and I felt a little bit better. But we even felt better because 1997 Apple Cup was pretty amazing. We won. Do you remember that game?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But we didn't just win. That was the game that made it so, see, we're not like the Huskies kind of expect to win. Okay, yeah, stop. Okay. But we won the game, and it didn't just mean that we won the game, it meant that we were going on to the Rose Bowl. The first time in 80 years, 67 years, Linda and I stood there. Everybody, it was like the air had gotten sucked out of the stadium. Because it was wonderful, and at the same time we couldn't believe. See? We couldn't believe that it had really happened. We kept waiting for the refs to run out in the field and say, no, we made a mistake. And the whole thing would just kind of go up, and we couldn't really, did it really just happen? Are we really? That's the feeling, I think, that a lot of the disciples had, but then even bigger. When Jesus rose from the dead, but didn't just rise from the dead, but kept coming and visiting them and coming, okay guys, yeah, it really did happen. And it didn't just really happen like boom for me, but guess what? You all get to participate in this. This is for all of you. Death is like done. It may still be around, but death is just a door now. I've shown you. It's just a door you're going to have to walk through. It doesn't have the last word. Can you believe? Oh, this is a big one, Jesus. But yes. And in the midst of it, it's still so big that there's a part of our minds that we're wondering if it really can be true. That's the feeling that I want you to walk forward with as we move into this season of Easter. And probably the most beautiful thing within this text was how it ended. Because Jesus doesn't just say, okay, it really happened. Buck up, folks, can I get out there and I'll be waiting for you at the end, or I'll be watching you from in heaven and making sure that I'm your big cheering squad. What does Jesus say? I will be with you. And in Greek, once again, but it's so much nicer. We churchify everything in the, lo, I will be with you always until the end. In Greek it says, I'll be by your side every day. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll be beside you every day until we wrap this whole thing up. I love that. Until the clock runs out, I'll be there. And that is the faith, that is the strength, and that is that world-changing, life-changing kind of